how should the non-technical business owner be understanding multilingual sites?
First, it's important to know that the success of your project starts before the first line of code. So it's important to know where you are and where you want to go before doing anything. Otherwise, you're going to make huge mistakes, and it often results in you have to redo like the whole site, part of the site, because you picked the wrong technology. So, and there's also a huge difference between translatable and multilingual. So some tools are translatable. So it means that, for instance, I can use WordPress in French or in English without having to install anything. But if you want to use it in both French and English, it's a different topic. And when you don't use multilingualism on a daily basis, sometimes you don't see that difference, and you use a plugin or a theme that says it's multilingual, but what they mean is it's translatable. And even if a plugin is compatible with WPML or any other technology for multilingualism, the plugin can say we are compatible, but it's not totally compatible. So you have like to do some tricks to be able to make it fully compatible. Even if you read, I mean, on the website, it's not enough. You have to test. And the more you test, the more you learn. The more you learn, then the better you are. There's no easy way into multilingualism. It's about trial and error. And we test like all the technologies. Like every opportunity we have, we test new tools. And sometimes the tools are better than we thought they would be. And sometimes, I mean, it's so bad that we're like, whoa, how can people use that? But it really depends on the context. If you have a small website, you're not doing e-commerce, you can basically take like any technology and it can work. The more you add like if you have e-commerce, if you have multi-currency, if you have like inventory, these things, I mean, are super important and you don't want to make mistakes. So take the time to pick the right technology before you start anything. And then you're going to have like not an easy track, but maybe a more comfortable track.
Hey everybody, it's Roger with Kinsta. Today I'm joined by a new friend, Maxime. Hey Maxime, how are you?
I'm doing great.
Excellent. I'd love to get some background about how you got into website development, WordPress, how hosting played a role in that for you, and just kind of really hear how this all got started.
Yeah, long story short, I'm a programmer, a backend programmer at heart, and I don't really like creating websites. So I was interested for some reason in WordPress, but didn't want to create websites. So I met my partner in 2017. We went for a meeting with a potential client and for like website creation, which I was like, you're going to do that. We were not partner at the time. So I was like, I'm going to introduce you to that client and then move on with my life. And then we went for lunch after that meeting and figured that once a website was launched, there was nobody like taking care of it after the launch. So no backup, no updates. And he was talking to me about the fact that he had like many clients that came to him based on that issue. So we started to talk about like creating maybe a maintenance service where we would focus only on the technical side of it, which was really interesting to me. And that's how, like 2 months later, we had our first client buying our first maintenance plan on the website that we had just created. So it took like 2 months between that conversation and then having a live website, and people could just buy maintenance from us. And then like 7-8 years later, we're still there, still offering maintenance, but we do more than that as of now. Yep.
Okay, all right. So backing up a little bit, what was it that first really got you into computers and led you into back-end development?
Oh my God. So when I was 8 years old, my aunt gave us an old computer with a book, a programming book. It was like, it was called a Tandy computer.
Yeah.
And the book had this small kind of talking computer, which was teaching you how to code. So I was able basically to ask, what's your name, and say, hello, Maxime. And that's how I started at 8 years old. And for some reason, I've always been sure my whole life that this is what I wanted to do. So I had no clue what really was a programmer, but I was like, this is what I want to do. And the more I dug into programming, the more I liked it. So I'm really lucky about that, because At first, I had like no clue what I was talking about and if I was really gonna love it. But I mean, yeah, my passion grows every day since I'm 8 years old about coding and all that stuff. So I don't
That's
have like
awesome.
any credit about that, but I mean, it's just the way it is.
Yeah. No, that's great. So my origin story is very similar. We had a Tandy, I want to say it was like a TRS 80. So
Okay.
it was the monitor and the keyboard were all one unit.
Okay.
And ours was really fancy. We had two 5.25 inch disk drives, or maybe was it 5.5 inch, the floppies?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, this first computer, I mean, it was like basically like a TV with a keyboard, and the computer was like inside the keyboard. And we
Yeah.
had a cassette, like a record cassette that we would just put it like at the right spot and then hit play and then launch a command on the computer, and it was loading the software from the cassette, but there was like no hard drive. So each time you would shut down the computer, you would lose like everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how I started. First computer.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. No, like people today have no idea the challenges that were involved. Memory lane. So, all right. So we fast forward. We get into, we have computers with hard drives. We have internet connections. You get introduced to the web. Was it just a natural progression? You're like, yes, this is what I want to be involved in.
I remember receiving a book called HTML4, like the new HTML, and I kind of created my own website on my own computer because at that time my computer was like too old to have an internet connection. Okay. So I faked it for quite a while until we got like a new computer, and then I could connect on the internet, and that's when I was like, whoa, this is amazing. You can travel the world from your office or from your living room. And yeah, so I kind of switched from coding on your computer for your computer to some kind of basic HTML, JavaScript, and moved on to like full stack development after that.
Excellent, excellent. All right. And so then WordPress came into play and you started, was it just automatically you were like, I love WordPress, or was there some hesitancy?
You know, at some point I wanted to start a website without coding everything. So I looked at every possible software. It was like, I think that was like kind of 2007, 2008. So WordPress was not my first choice. For some reason, I was like, Joomla seems really good. So I installed it. I installed also Drupal. I installed WordPress. And I just played with, and also Mambo, and played with the software for like almost a year without building anything. So I was just like, how does that work? Can it handle multilingual website? Can it do this and that? And I played and played and played. And at some point when I was like really ready to start something, WordPress kind of had created a gap between its technology and others. So I tried it for, at that point, I really didn't know why I picked it. But the more I played with it, the more I liked it. And like, it was easy to create plugins, play with the themes. So I really liked that and I stuck with it. But I cannot say that at that time it was like I had done like a great analysis, and no, it was like, it seems interesting, it's easy. So that's how I got into WordPress.
Okay, all right. And that matches again with me is I remember I was playing with movable type, and then their licensing got really weird, and then there was Drupal, and that was really complicated, and I think WordPress was the only thing I could get set up and actually working. And so, yeah, it was like, okay, I guess this is the one that I'll use. So you've got a lot of experience with the back end and like hosting. You're definitely like an Nginx expert, I would say. But at some point you had to make a decision where, did you want to be working on websites or did you want to become a hosting company? Can you kind of walk me through how you came to that decision and why it's still kind of works for you today and with a partner like Kinsta?
Yeah. So first I decided to, like most agencies, start with hosting the websites that we were managing. So it was like pre-SatelliteWP. So I did that and it was fun because you make money doing almost nothing until something breaks. And then you realize that you didn't make any money at all. So I did that for maybe 2 years. And my partner now did the same thing. So at some point I was like, I'm going to stop doing web hosting, and I moved on with only consulting. And he was doing web hosting too. And at some point he had like a major server crash, and like for 3 days he couldn't work on any clients because of that. So he called me and it was like, you have some experience, what's your suggestion? And I said, get rid of all that and focus on what makes you money, because he had like a couple, like tens of websites. And I'm like, if you want to make money and have fun in the hosting business, you need thousands of websites. You need people to be available 24/7, and this has a cost. So it's either you do it like full time or you don't do it. Otherwise, I don't see the money. I don't see the reason to do that. It's just a pain. So to me, because I didn't want to do like 24/7, I wanted to focus on coding. So that's why I decided to look for other solutions and maybe like have an affiliate link and maybe like get a small cut just to send the client to Kinsta or to like other companies. And to me, it was like good enough. I'm going to focus on something else, because I think that's not a technology, but that's a business line that you cannot improvise. And I wanted like client to be able to contact support, to get in touch with people that do that on a daily basis. I can help, but I don't want to be responsible for that. So that's why I decided to not do that anymore.
Yeah, no, I think the support thing is a really big topic there, and it's something that at Kinsta we take very seriously. As you know, we want to have not only people available to talk to you at any time of the day, any day of the week, but people who are knowledgeable and are capable. And I think also another thing that's important is, if there's an issue at 2 a.m. on a Saturday, you not only want somebody available, but you want them to be like happy to be talking to you and in a good mood. And that's another advantage is, especially at Kinsta, since we're a remote global company, the person you're talking to at 2 a.m, it's daytime for them. So they're happy, right? It's a normal working hours. And I think that there's a huge psychological component to that. Is there anything, talking kind of specific about Kinsta here, are there any features of the service besides support that just really are clutch for operating your business and helping your clients?
To me, a web hosting company is not about like the technology, like the power of their servers. It's first support, like the quality and how fast they can answer. In like most web hosting company we've worked with, because we don't host clients, as we just said, so we work with tens of different web hosting companies. So I don't want to talk to level 1 people. And in most cases, our clients pay us to talk to the wrong person and then to get to talk to the right person. So this has a cost. So that's one big advantage at Kinsta. The other thing is the panel that you offer, which has tools that are specifically created for WordPress, such as search and replace, being able to change like PHP versions, clear the cache that is integrated into the website. Small tools like that make a huge difference. So yes, you pay more on a monthly basis if you compare like similar technologies. But at the end of the day, if I can do something in 30 minutes instead of doing it in 2 hours, I mean, it has like a huge benefit to our clients. And one last thing would be the fact that we can create a copy of a website for debugging purposes. We don't use it for development purposes. We use our own servers. But when we have like to debug something, I mean, it's one click. You wait like a minute, and then you have a brand new copy of the website. You debug, then you just delete it and move on with your life. So that's the reason why we use Kinsta.
Excellent. And I mean, it's a far cry from fast forwarding that cassette tape to the certain spot.
Of course it is.
I love remembering back, and you're putting me totally down memory lane. So that's fantastic. And I agree, between the My Kinsta control panel, which we've specifically built for hosting WordPress sites, and the support team and that tier, just having one tier of support, right? You're just going to talk to the one person, they're going to handle you through to completion, is fantastic. Talking a little bit forward thinking right now, are there any trends or any tools that you're really excited about using and working with and introducing to your clients to help their websites get more conversions and make more money?
That's a good question. I mean, it's more about like marketing. I think that the way that search engines are evolving, by adding AI like everywhere, it's gonna be like interesting to see how the market will shift about how is it important to rank number one in Google versus rank number one in Gemini or ChatGPT. So like the way that it evolves, because people used to, search on Google only. Now, like there are like so many different ways to get the information. So how can you put yourself into that information? How is it gonna evolve? That are the things that, we're focusing on trying to learn as much as we can right now to be ahead of the curve. But it's moving so fast, and that I'm not really sure at this point what we should focus on. I don't think that moving too fast at this point is a good idea. I'm more about like understanding and making like the right move at the right time instead of just jumping on the new trend. So that's how I see it. And I know that it's not super popular. I see a lot of people stating that you can almost give your business to ChatGPT and it's going to handle everything. But I'm like, I'm not really sure. So I see AI as a way to go faster, but not a way to replace. So I think that the gap is going to be created between the people that understand and the people that use the technology. So I'm like, when I use it, I want to make sure that I understand before I type anything. So I understand what I want as a result. So it's faster for me. When you don't understand, you often get results that are not perfect or that are not totally true. And if you don't understand it, you just use it, and at some point it's going to create chaos, I think. But we're going to see in the future if I was wrong or right about that.
I think you're spot on there. I think a pragmatic approach to these tools is really critical. And to speaking to the topic about understanding, I think if you don't know the topic that it's telling you, it'll tell you the most convincing story, and you'll be, oh, that sounds absolutely right. And if you don't know anything about what it's talking about, you could totally be tricked. And this has happened many times. We've seen it already. So I think that's a really great strategy to be taking there. Pivoting really quickly, multilingual sites. You have a fantastic accent, so that means to me that you speak French, and so you work with a lot of clients. You're in Canada, so there's a requirement to have multilingual sites. When you're working with WordPress and you're working on these sites that are multilingual, what's the strategy that you would advise non-technical businesses kind of understand when they're coming to you or another consultant, another agency to work with them on their sites? How should the non-technical business owner be understanding multilingual sites?
First, it's important to know that the success of your project starts before the first line of code. So it's important to know where you are and where you want to go before doing anything. Otherwise, you're going to make huge mistakes, and it often results in you have to redo like the whole site, part of the site, because you picked the wrong technology. So, and there's also a huge difference between translatable and multilingual. So some tools are translatable. So it means that, for instance, I can use WordPress in French or in English without having to install anything. But if you want to use it in both French and English, it's a different topic. And when you don't use multilingualism on a daily basis, sometimes you don't see that difference, and you use a plugin or a theme that says it's multilingual, but what they mean is it's translatable. And even if a plugin is compatible with WPML or any other technology for multilingualism, the plugin can say we are compatible, but it's not totally compatible. So you have like to do some tricks to be able to make it fully compatible. Even if you read, on the website, it's not enough. You have to test. And the more you test, the more you learn. The more you learn, then the better you are. There's no easy way into multilingualism. It's about trial and error. And we test like all the technologies. Like every opportunity we have, we test new tools. And sometimes the tools are better than we thought they would be. And sometimes, I mean, it's so bad that we're like, whoa, how can people use that? But it really depends on the context. If you have a small website, you're not doing e-commerce, you can basically take like any technology and it can work. The more you add like if you have e-commerce, if you have multi-currency, if you have like inventory, these things, I mean, are super important and you don't want to make mistakes. So take the time to pick the right technology before you start anything. And then you're going to have like not an easy track, but maybe a more comfortable track.
Okay, yeah, and that's one way that I had not looked at it before is multilingualism versus translatable. But as you bring it up, like the light bulbs all go off in terms of, oh yeah, there is a major difference. And so that it, you know, I think that that's sage advice is to have people making sure that they're thinking through that this is more complex than just translating.
Yeah.
Very
and
good.
often you need like what they call glue plugins, which
Okay.
make a plugin work with WPML. So it's a plugin made by WPML to make another plugin compatible with the way they handle strings. So, but you don't know that when you don't use such technologies. And for technologies like WPML, they create a plugin for you. So you just
Okay.
install it and it works. Other technologies like, let's say, Polylang, what they do is they let you build that glue plugin. So if at some point the developer just stops maintaining it, you're stuck with a solution that does not evolve. So depending on what you're doing, there are pros and cons with each technology.
Sure. Okay, all right. Wow. All right, my brain is swollen up now. Thank you so much, Maxime. To finish us off here, if people want to get in touch with you to, you know, either pick your brain some more or hire you, what are the best ways for them to reach out to you?
They can come on LinkedIn and just type my name, Maxime Jobin, and I'll gladly accept their invitation, or they can visit our website, SatelliteWP.com.
Wonderful. All right, Maxime, I appreciate the conversation. I feel like the audio has been perfect this time, so thank you so much. I want to have you back on at some point and talk more about multilingualism. I think that this is a huge topic that I know a lot of people are craving more information on, so I'd love to have you back on at some point. Will you say yes?
Of course. My pleasure.
Excellent. All right, excellent. Maxime, thank you so much for your time, and please have a great day.
Thank you, Roger.